I know he looks awesome right now. There's been pictures posted. We're talking about Derek, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
And
looks freaky, man.
yeah, some people are like, oh, he's way behind. He looks like. I'm like, what? And I think the fact that he's not like as dry as he would be show day,
Yeah.
but he isn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's got a month left, and he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to look awesome. So I think this is going to be a very interesting comparison between him and Samson.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Chris is going to do with him too. He's in good hands.
Yeah. Well, Chris has an awesome way of calming people down, of like, making you feel relaxed. Where I think maybe Hani's too involved, like got to be involved in every pose and every workout session. I want to hammer you through this, and then got to do this, that, and where Chris is like, how you doing? You feel good? Take the day off. Go have a burger. Whatever. He's very chill and relaxed about things. And
Yeah.
I'm the same way. So it was very important that I hooked up with Chris because, like, one, I could overdo shit very easily.
Yeah.
Right.
And I required a lot of cardio anyway, but he would know when to pull back, and he'd be like, listen, take the day off, take skip your second cardio, and I'd be like, all right, cool. And I would be a little hesitant, but I'd always look better the next day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I am not your host, Ron Partlow. He's on vacation in Mexico, goofing off. But what we did is we brought on Jose Raymond to step in his place. Of course, we got the producer, Scott McNally, on. Remember to comment, like, share, subscribe, and
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell,
There it
Dusty.
is.
I needed you. You know what I mean? So, yes, share, comment, subscribe, and, of course, ring the bell. Also, remember, while we got you on, IamMutant.com. Jump on IamMutant.com. Get all your stuff. I'm not going to go through the gear. I'm not pushing gear like he is. I think you should use IsoSurge with your gear. But get on there. Remember to use your codes Big Ron or Dusty to save some cash. And, of course, let's not forget the Think Big Patreon. We got to keep this producer homed.
Thank you, guys.
Jose, did you know for the price of a cup of coffee, you could support Scott in keeping his roof over his head?
You keep my internet paid so I can keep doing this,
It's important.
Nice.
It's important.
Well, it depends on when you get your coffee.
Right?
Yeah, right?
Valid. You could pay for his house depending on where you get your coffee.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, as always, we decided we had to bring you. I feel like we haven't had you on in a minute.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Probably a year.
I think the last time Jose was on, Dusty was taking a nap. I'm pretty sure, Dusty, you were
That
taking.
long?
I think it was. I could be wrong. You had a story that I think Dusty. Did you ever hear that story? Jose was overseas, and they were going to get in line to fly, and some guy who wasn't even speaking English was like, "Come with us." Remember that one? And
Yeah.
I remember retelling that story at like the Arnold or something, and Dusty was like, "I don't think I heard that." It was like he told it on the show, and then Ron and I were like, "Oh, Dusty wasn't there."
That was in
for
Kuwait. It was scary.
Tell me now.
There was
I don't care if anybody else already heard it.
There was like the head of security in Kuwait, and it was me, Louis Marco, Todd, who else? Who's the promoter down in Florida? He's a judge. What the heck is his name? Short Asian guy.
Oh, oh man, you just knocked it out of my head.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but
It's horrible.
Yeah,
to see his
he was
face.
with us.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
And this guy was like dead serious, like, come with me, let's go. And we're like, what the hell? And he brings us in his office, and we're all scared shit. And somehow, over the course of a week, Louis Marco learned how to speak Arabic, and he was talking to the guy. And he's telling us, oh no, this guy's like drunk or something, and he just wants to hang out. He wants us to hang out with us. So the guy's like, you want cookies? You like cookies? I'm like, yeah, I love cookies. He tells his assistant, go get him cookies. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And we were like, we finally realized that we weren't in trouble. He just wanted to hang out. And he walked us, ushered us to the plane and everything. It was awesome.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, Kuwait is very different than here. When I landed in Kuwait, the security guards with a gun standing there like this, dead serious. And then he goes, "Oxygen Jim," points at me. And he's like, yeah, he was all fired up. And then who's the trainer over there? The trained Brandon Curry.
I don't know
Oh,
any of those.
yeah, I'm not remembering any names today. I once again picturing
Yeah.
his
We
need
face.
Ron
But
for
yeah,
this.
yeah, we do. Ron knows all. This is what we get when we don't have Ron.
Yeah, we don't know.
Anyway, he shows up. They don't even look at my passport. They don't look at any of my. I don't go through any screening. He just comes over and hugs me, and he's like, "Let's go. We got your bags. Let's go." I'm like, "This is crazy. Like, I could have a kilo of cocaine in my bag.
Yeah,
Nothing was gonna happen. It was unbelievable."
Oh man, see, that's what I slept through.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is the stuff.
Yeah,
I think what's unbelievable, Scott, is when we sit down at a table at like a show, the amount of these stories that we've forgotten that come up because someone else says, "Oh, remember the time?" And you're like, "No."
Yeah.
And then the story starts coming. You're like, "Oh, yeah." There's far too many of those, and I'm grateful that none of them are recorded. So that's
yeah. Lots of them you can't say.
yeah. A lot of those won't make this show today. So,
No.
but anyhow, Jose, so I got a bunch of questions that people rolled through that we will jump on. But I wanted to start out actually, now that you've kind of stepped away from bodybuilding, I always looked at you like when we came up, it was funny, but I won't name a name. But there was, we were at an airport at one point following a big show, and a guy who did very well in it. Fucking dogs.
He's usually doing this on the side while Ron is
This is
talking.
what I
You
do.
can. It's harder when you're the host, right?
I have delivery people that like to come right during the show all the time. But anyways, I have 3 dogs now, so it's a lot. It's a lot.
One sounds big.
Yeah, that's Nova. She's the big one. So come here, Nose. Nova, come here. Come see Jose. Relax. But anyways, I wanted to kind of get a look now that the sport has changed quite a bit. Like when you started bodybuilding
Yeah.
and you told someone that you got into bodybuilding, I mean, how many people were like, "Oh, are you going to turn pro or do you have a show?" I mean, did they even know what you were talking about?
No. In fact, most people, like the local bodybuilders, they knew how impossible it was. In the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, that they wouldn't even consider it. Even when I won nationals in 2001, and a local bodybuilder from the Boston area, Freddie Bagot, was there, and he said to me, "Hey, congratulations, man. Now be ready to never be heard from again." And I was like, well, because back then that's what it was.
Yeah.
No bantams or lightweights went on to do anything. So he was
Right.
kind of jealous that I won my pro card, but he didn't. But at the same time, he's like, "You'll never do anything anyway." So I'm like, "All
Right.
right, gee, thanks."
So that was
But that
kind of
was
what.
that was the culture.
Right.
Nobody even really thought you were going to go pro. You just wanted to do the best you can. Those were the days of Mike Matarazzo, Paul DeMeo, Steve Cantone, my brother, and those were the big names. Jay Cutler, obviously, and but those guys were exceptional.
Yeah.
Paul and Matarazzo and Jay were incredible. The rest of them were just like doing it for fun.
Right.
I never thought about a pro card.
Right.
Yeah.
So what drove you then to do all the competing now? I mean, because the reason I pointed out is because it seems as though now, as soon as people get started, like that's the purpose. Like they've never done a show, they've never even done an off season. It's like, I want to get a pro card. And not that I'm even hammering that that's a bad thing, but what was it that drove you back in the day to just do what you were doing?
So another thing these days, they're like, "I need a sponsor." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you? What do you mean you need a sponsor? Who's going to sponsor you? You have 600 followers." Like what? And I never had a sponsor in my early days. I didn't think about that. I would save my money for a flight to Vegas and go do the USA's, and simple as that. I never
Right.
thought about that. But the real main reason that I did it and enjoyed it was because it was something I could do with my brother, and we had so much fun training together and improving and getting better, and he went on to get magazine contracts and photo shoots and sponsored by Muscle Tech, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't have any sponsors, but it was really cool. And we would have a blast. We'd make a vacation out of it wherever we'd compete, whether it was New York or Vegas or California, Florida. And it was just something that we did together that was fun. And lo and behold, I was good at it, so
Right.
I wanted to continue and see how good I could be. I won my very first show in 1993 as
Show that picture, Scott.
a teenager.
I see.
And
That one.
I fell in love with it. The feeling, of 1,000 fans going nuts, and it was just me. That's like a few weeks out from the 1993 New England's.
Okay.
And my brother looks like he's 220 there, but he's 175.
No kidding. You guys
I'm
both look good
150.
though. Like I wouldn't guess you were getting ready for your first show there. You guys both had a lot of muscle on you. Obviously he's bigger, but
How long had Tito been competing and training before you started?
A few years, probably. He's like 24, and I'm 17 there.
Okay.
And yeah, and that was 93. So 93, 90. I was 18 there. It was early spring of 93. And we were just training, and I was learning how to eat and learning how to do everything, and just following his lead. And
Bodybuilding was on
training like
ESPN
animals.
back then. You remember that?
Yeah, I was on ESPN.
You're kidding me.
No way.
Yeah, there's a clip of me competing, my posing routine on YouTube.
For
At the
what show?
1998 Muscle Mania.
Okay.
99 Muscle Mania.
I'll dig around. I'll see if I can find that today while we're recording.
Oh yeah, I was posing to New Edition, and I did a backflip. It was crazy. It was awesome. Yeah, I was like 22,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
So that was, you said 98, 99-ish?
Yeah.
And then, so you switched exclusively to the NPC then in 2000?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I had won the overall at the Muscle Mania, and Lou Zwick, the owner of the Muscle Mania, was like, "I'll fly you all over the world. You'll come over to Europe and do the Muscle Manias over there." And I was like, I want to compete against the best. And no offense, but that league was kind of limited. There were
Right.
some good guys in there. Stan McQuay was really good. My brother was good. We had Melvin Anthony. He was
No
he
way.
was
I
in
didn't know
there.
he was on there.
Yeah, yep. And there were some good guys, but I wanted to compete against the best. And my brother was doing the USA's. He placed second at the USA's a couple times. He won the Universe a few times. He never did nationals, but so I just did it. I did it with him, and I knew there was a much bigger sea of people competing in the NPC.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do. And Lou Zwick was kind of pissed at me for doing it, but I was a young kid. I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So that's a story of my
I think
life.
things
still.
worked out.
So the USA's in 2000 was your first pro qualifier, right?
Yep.
And how did you
No,
place at
I mean, how did I place?
Yeah, at that show.
I won it. My first USA's, I won in 2000.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah,
Little detail. I didn't
yeah.
even know the answer to that.
But back then,
God.
they didn't give pro cards for class win at the USA's.
Right.
So it was just
So
overall at that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Bob Ciccarello won it that year.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah,
Hey, I found
we're
that
going back.
WrestleMania video. Check this out, guys.
Let's see this.
All right, hold on just a second here. This is amazing. I gotta move a couple things. There we go. All right. I think I gotta turn the music down or we'll get demonetized on this. So you were how old here?
22.
22. All right.
Yeah.
Man, that's a full
Look at the
auditorium
crowd.
too. They had a good show put together back then.
Oh, they did.
You were looking peeled too.
Yeah, that was the first time I met Ron Harris. He was a producer on that.
Oh, no kidding. There's the backflip. Nice.
Yeah.
Can you still do that?
Yeah.
I could at land.
That's freaking
Yeah.
awesome. I haven't even seen that before. So,
Yeah.
all right. So 2000, you won the USAs. Did you do
Yeah.
nationals in 2000 as well, or did you wait till 01?
No, I waited till 01. And that was the year with Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson. Johnny won the overall. He was a light heavy. Branch won the heavies.
Right.
I forget the huge guy from Canada. Not Canada. He might be from Michigan or something. He passed away. He fell in a pool.
Okay.
Remember
Whoever
that?
that was.
He was like 265, and I was 153.
Okay.
He was massive. But yeah, I won that class. I was in the overall with those guys. That did give me a pro card,
Okay.
but still I was I don't know if I was almost 24, 25. No, I was 26 actually. So I won the USAs at 25. I won the nationals at 26. And then again, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? There's no pro card. So then I want to believe that they made the welterweight division for me. That the next year and a couple of years later in '04, they started the welterweight division. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I won my class in '04, and I was in the overall with Kai Green.
Okay.
And yeah, we were supposed to go to Moscow to compete in the World Championships. That's why it was called Team Universe back then.
Yeah.
Because the winners of each weight class went to the World Championships. And I was psyched. And then, like a month before the show, there was a plane shot down in Russia. So we got a letter from the State Department that said, we're not advising you to go to this. And so we didn't go. So then the next year in '05, I won Universe again, and I won the overall. And that gave me a pro card as well.
So you're saying because we kind of glossed over the first one. You did not, for anybody who's new to Jose Raymond, you didn't take that first pro card, right?
No. Or
And
the
then-
second.
And then you didn't take the second one either.
No.
What were people like back then? Like, were they like shocked that you? What were they like? What did they say to you? What did people say when you're like you won the pro card and you're like, nah, I'm gonna keep going.
So most people knew like that I was tiny, I was still only 165 pounds. And it just, what am I going to do? That was the time of Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman. And I'm like, it was just silly. There was no 202 or 212 or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was still young. I still wanted to get better. I was still natural. I'm like, I just want to get better. I don't really care about a pro card that I can't use.
Right.
So I went, and the only person that seemed to care was Tamer Al-Gundi, because I showed up at the USAs in '07, and we're at weigh-ins, and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? I'm like, I'm competing. I moved up to middleweights.
Yeah.
And he's like, he was so confused. He's like, what? So
I'm guessing that's because he was also a middleweight.
Yes. And I end up beating him, and he came in second, and he was pissed.
You shouldn't have even been here. You already turned pro. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard so many stories. Like when he does seminars, he brings that up.
Does
He's
he?
like, never take anything lightly. You never know who's going to show up. And lo and behold, I showed up and beat his ass. But,
That's amazing.
he won it the next year. he was good. He was really
Oh, he's
good. He had
great.
great shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I was there when he turned pro.
yep, yep. And then 6 months later, I went and did nationals, and I won that as well. So that was another pro card.
Now, did you
So-
take it that time, that third time?
No, no, no.
This is why the story never gets old. No.
Yeah. No, I didn't take it until '07 when I won nationals and as a middleweight, and they had already started the 210 division at that time.
And you hadn't used gear, you were saying back then. You
No.
obviously knew about it. You knew people that were doing it.
Of course.
Why did you? What was going on? What made you decide you didn't want to? Because if anything, you'd think like, I'm a smaller guy. I need to get bigger. One plus one equals 2, right?
Or 1 + 1 = 10.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Shit works. No, because my brother and I were like really, really proud of being natural bodybuilders. And as a young kid, I got tested in high school. I was 14, got pulled out of algebra class to be tested for steroids.
You're kidding me.
And yeah, which today there'd be lawsuits up the ass. And
Yeah.
obviously I wasn't on it. I didn't know what the fuck it was. But, I was proud to be natural. I wanted to see how far I could go. My brother never did anything, and he looked incredible. So I'm like, well, why can't I do the same? And, I went on and I did my first pro show. I was still natural. I was 184 pounds at the New York Pro, and it was absolutely stacked, that class. And it was Eduardo, it was David Henry, it was Kevin English,
Oh God.
it was Fakri, it was Jason Arntz, it was Mark Dugdale.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was just loaded. And I came in 7th or 8th, and Vinny Galanti beat me. And I said,
Right.
that's it. I'm Vinny caused me to start juicing.
That's his
I'm
fault.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, he's like almost 10 years older than me. And he beat me. I'm like, this is crazy. But that's just how stacked the lineup was back then.
Yeah.
And so I started like almost immediately after the New York Pro.
Actually,
And-
in backstage, he was like, "Give me
Yeah.
that. Give me that
I'm
right
like, Vinny,
now."
give me that. Yeah. So I went from 184. It was like May
Yeah.
May of 2009, and then September 1st, I competed at the Atlantic City Pro, and I went from 184 to 202 in stage weight.
Yeah.
And I was way harder, way bigger, way rounder in the second show, and I qualified for the Olympia. It was a really close show between me and Flex. And then we went to the Olympia, and Flex placed 5th, and I was 6th. So he and
God.
I were like next
From
to
the
each other
beginning.
our whole career.
Yeah.
The whole career.
I sent you, Scott, a picture from the 07 Nationals because,
Is that last one?
yeah, I just texted to you with him and Guy.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I like to point out, like, for those who are wondering, like, what genetics for bodybuilding looks like is when that's what you look like natural on the left. Because I
Yeah.
will say, Jose, like, and you know this too, if you were to look at the guy on the left and someone said he's natural, you'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I never looked that good geared up personally, but that's my
No,
that's
no,
me.
not even close. Not even close. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's one of those scenarios that why people struggle with it so much. And it's
Yeah.
not until a guy like you does go on and you go from 184 to 202 on stage in a matter of months that people
Yeah,
go,
like 3 months.
oh,
That's
'cause it was the
crazy.
same. I remember when Kai won that Best Posing Award at the Keystone show. And I
Yeah.
don't know if he was natural or what he was doing, but it wasn't much because 5 minutes later he was 40 pounds heavier. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
everything they said was true. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It just because you can't. I hate to say it, but I think most people. It's not even about hate. They just can't fathom that someone else is just that much better. Just because they are.
Kai was next level.
I get it though.
I remember the story behind that. Kai was really disappointed because he didn't win that show. I don't think the Keystone show.
No, he won the best poser. That was it.
Yeah, and he was really upset, and he was thinking of retiring because he really couldn't afford to do all these shows and stuff, and he couldn't afford gear. And then Steve Bleckman signed him, and it changed the course of history. He was paying him. He had money to be able to afford food and his drugs and whatever he needed, and he literally put on 40 pounds like in a year. It was wild. From 07 to I think he won. Did he win the 08 and 09?
Oh yeah, the next year he was
Arnold.
Winning. Yeah, right there after.
Madness. And he was only in the Keystone show. He was only like 220, 220, 225.
But
then there were times
the muscle was so phenomenal that you just couldn't, even though he wasn't huge, you just couldn't fathom that was possible naturally because he always had the legs. I mean, even back then, his legs were stupid. His bicep peaks looked like they were loaded when they weren't. Because nothing was, it's just it was a wild time to watch some of these guys. I mean, it was between him, you. I mean, hell, even Ronnie. Like he was another one that everyone knew was on, and then he was, and you're like, oh,
yeah. Well, Sean Roden was the same way too. Sean Roden used to do the universe with us, and he was awesome. He was awesome. He had great legs, and he had just the natural version of what he later turned into. Right. He was a light heavyweight, a light heavyweight. He was probably 190, and he looked incredible. And then within a few years, he was crazy. Blew up.
Got obscene. So
I think some of the best bodybuilders that had longevity waited a long time before they started.
Right.
Both me, Kai, Ronnie Coleman, Sean Roden all competed into our 40s. Sean won the Olympia at 41, 42. I won the Arnold at 41. Ronnie was competing into his 40s. It was a different time, and I advise people to do that. If you can absolutely hold off, just wait. I mean, I'd like to see people wait till they hit 30. I mean, I don't think you're a real man until you're 30 anyway. Right. And, and by 30, your body is going to be where it's at.
Yeah.
So, I was 34 when I started. And I just morphed over, I went from 184 to struggling to make 212. I was in really good shape. There's a picture I sent you, Dusty, where I just wrote gross on it. And I'm in the gym. I think I was 10 days out from the Olympia, and I was still like 225 in the picture.
Yep, I got it right here. I'm sending it to Scott real quick.
Gross.
All right, I want to see this.
It's absolutely gross. It's not attractive.
It's where you want to be.
Yeah. This kind of shot is the best. This is what I think of when I think of you, Jose. Like just that nasty quality of muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of veins everywhere. Not a whole ton of separation there. I used to have to really suck down. Like you wouldn't see my detail and separation and literally to the last few hours till I got on stage.
No kidding.
Remember we were doing that photo shoot, Dusty? For what was it? The equipment company. It was a photo shoot like the day before the Olympia. And the guy's like, he's not in shape. He's not in shape. And Dusty's like, what? It's Thursday and he's hard as nails. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then the next day I was like, everything sucked out.
Oh man!
But I didn't do it until I needed to. You know what I mean? I don't care what I look like a week out. The show's not till Saturday. And I got shit.
The thing is, Scott, you got to understand, like, I wish we could just like do a recording of stories and have Chris on with Jose and Guy and all these guys, because I remember I saw Jose at the USA's one year, which is July.
Okay.
And the Olympia is I don't know if it was in September, October at that. It was September. And Chris goes, "How's Jose look?" And I go, "He looks fat." And he goes, "Was he look small and fat or big and fat?" And I'm like, well, "Big and fat." And he goes, "Well, big and fat's fine. I just can't have him being small and fat."
Yeah.
And then you fast forward like 6 weeks later, and I text Jose. I'm like, "Let me see what you're looking like right now." And it looks like a 7-month transpiration took place.
No kidding.
Like, you're just looking and you're like, I should quit the sport right now. This should be the end. This picture should be enough for me to know that I'm done.
Right.
Because, I mean, it was just a night and day thing. But, you know, I think I learned a ton traveling with Jose. Because knowing where I stood, I was obsessive. Like, I mean, I brought a scale with me. Every meal was perfect. I didn't understand the things that experience come with, as far as, you know, my day-to-day life was sedentary. I owned a supplement store. I sat in a store all day, ate food, and then would go train. So there wasn't a lot of like moving around and stuff. And I'd go on the road and prep, and we'd pull down to eat, and I'd get my food out, and then Jose's like, "Oh, get him a basket of fries." And I'm like, "Can't have a basket of fries." He's like, "Just eat the fries. Trust me, you need to have the fries. We've been very busy this week."
Yeah.
And so and it was funny because I reached out to Chris at one point, and I'm like, "Hey, Jose's having me eat extra stuff." He's like, "Just do whatever he says." And I was like, "Okay," because you're with him. We'd be gone for like a week, and I mean, every night he'd have me eat something extra. And I'd get home and I'm down 7 pounds. And he's like, "You're not factoring in that we're on our feet all day.
Yeah.
And then we're going to this appearance and that appearance and the show. And then you're still doing your cardio. You're still doing your training." And it was a real like eye opener to me. And it really helps now with coaching, because you're talking to people and you're like, all of a sudden something changes and it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And it could be worse or better. And you're like, "Why'd this slow down?" "Oh, yeah, you know, I took the week off and I laid around my house all day." And they're like a construction guy. And you're like,
Yeah.
shit, that's like you didn't do 2 weeks of cardio during the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was definitely one of those experiences where I learned that it's like, what's on the paper doesn't match up unless your life stays in line with it as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. That makes
Some of
total
those
sense.
days were brutal. You know, we would do
God,
appearances. We'd be on our feet for 8 hours. Then they would do like a raffle, train with Jose and Dusty.
Oh.
You're like, dude, we've been on our feet all day, and we got to train with. And it was exhausting. So
I bet.
on those trips, you can eat anything you want. You're gonna still lose some weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were obscene. We did 3 weeks in Australia at one point, Scott.
That was brutal.
Nonstop. We did, I think we did 17 or so days of an event every day.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
And I feel like Australian bodybuilding fans are in it. You know what I mean? They're not like,
great.
Yeah,
They're fantastic.
They're there to really get in it, meet you, all that. I bet that was really cool.
I loved it.
It was.
That was so much fun.
Got my Doherty shirt on today.
Look at the timing of that.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, those were classic. Well, let me pull up some of these questions and see if you have some that are on there that you thought are good too, Scott.
Yeah, we got a bunch of them. If you're enjoying our show, let me ask you to please hit the like button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it definitely helps us out. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. And if you're new here, let me encourage you to subscribe and hit the bell. We have lots of bodybuilding education and entertainment coming out each week. The bell will let you know when new stuff comes out.
We got some solids. And then, Jose, I wanted to grab you too. We're going to not do too long in this episode because have you ever seen one of our react shows?
To like
we react to another video.
To a video?
Yeah. We're doing that.
Yeah. I like that.
We want to get you, we've got some stuff we want to get you reacting
and have
to.
you react to it. So that'll be what people watch on the weekend. Let's see here. All right,
Jose
here's
is
a good
the
one
Mark
for you.
Wahlberg of bodybuilding. I think that sounds like
I didn't know
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what it means, but it sounds good, right?
We're both Boston guys, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they're talking about the financial side and that you guys are like twins, basically.
Yeah, he's worth like 400 million.
Yeah, you're about the same, right? Give or take.
Yeah,
Close.
I'm 400.
Who's an underrated IFBB pro that you wish more people talked about? Could be current or retired.
Oh, this is a great question. I sent Chris a video of a guy yesterday that I think his physique is one of the all-time best.
Huh.
And he was only 176 pounds. A guy named Theory Pastel. His physique was nuts. His midsection, his quads, his arms, his abs were stacked. It was unbelievable. I don't think he was 5'4". They listed him at 5'4", 176 as a pro. And he looks like he's 220. So round. He's similar to like Keone, but like prettier.
Holy crap. Is it this guy here?
Yep.
Holy crap. Look at that waist. Look at those arms. The arm to waist to quad is insane.
He was incredible. I don't know why he didn't get more talk. He was an older bodybuilder, so back then I don't know.
My brain can't even wrap around the picture I just saw. When you said prettier than Keone, I laughed in the back of my head because I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
And then you
showed that back shot.
He was unreal.
He
was
great.
Before the time of striated glutes and stuff.
Yeah.
But he had everything. He had quads, calves, arms, waist.
Huh.
If there's a physique I could look like, that would be the one I'd want.
That's also wild that he was that short because of his shape, he doesn't look short at all.
Right.
He's alone, but you still can't,
I think he's shorter than 5'4". They list him at 5'4". I think he's like 5'2", because you can't stack that much muscle on 5'4" and still only be 176.
Right.
He's got to be top of the light heavy. He's almost 200 pounds. He looks. Yeah, that's my favorite physique.
All right, we got another one.
All right.
I remember on one of your videos where you mentioned what you would have for your last meal while in prep. Something like egg whites and reduced sugar chocolate syrup.
Yeah. So I used to put like cocoa powder on my egg whites, and then I would drizzle some maple syrup on top of it, and then mix it all up and have chocolate eggs. It was delicious. That was the only way I could get down that many egg whites. It would be like 2 cups of egg whites before I went to bed.
That's when you know you're dieting, when something like that actually sounds good. You know what I mean?
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Really good. Because I used to do shakes before I went to bed, but then I started throwing up in my sleep.
Oh, God.
For some reason, all that fluid.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had to stop. So then I started with egg whites, and it was delicious, and I never threw it up. So that's why I did that.
What made you decide to put chocolate on egg whites?
Well, it was sugar-free. It was just cocoa powder.
Yeah, I know, but it's cocoa powder. You just said, what would be good on these egg whites? Cocoa powder.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying?
Oh.
See, I put syrup on mine every day still.
Really?
Sugar-free syrup. Yeah,
okay.
Every day. And Nikki's like, why would you want sweet eggs? And I'm like, why would you not want sweet eggs?
Right?
That just
I
seems...
loved it.
Yeah. But I never did the
chocolate added. Oh, it was so good.
That's the next level.
What about this one? And I know we kind of went over it. Jose, what is changed? And it could go in a lot of different directions. What has changed about competitive bodybuilding from the time that you started? I mean, there's a lot there, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's changed is the business side of it the most. Like, and I mean from the NPC, the IFBB, the watering down of the athletes because of so many pro cards. I can understand when like Men's Physique first came out that we had to build the class, but now we have thousands of them. They got to go back to just one winner at nationals, one winner in each class, not top 2. There's a zillion bikini girls, just the winner. I don't think there should be a top 2 pro card in any division. Maybe for the first 2-3 years of this new fit model, until they grow the division.
Right.
But there's just too many pros. I remember when we would go to the USAs and we could predict the top 5 every year. We
Okay.
could predict it. And then one guy would leave and the second place guy would most likely win the next year, or a top 3 guy. And we knew who they were going to be. Now you go to the nationals. I mean, you might know 1 or 2 guys. I don't know them all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it lost its prestige. Back then, like, if you were a top amateur, you were a superstar already. You already had magazine covers, you had contracts, everyone knew who the hell you were. And now there's guys where we don't know who the hell they are. And when you turned pro, you were ready to win. Flex Wheeler's first year as a pro, he's second at the Olympia. Kevin Leverone's first year as a pro, he was second at the Olympia.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how nasty they were. Now, that's a rarity for someone to even place in a pro show. Never mind second at the Olympia.
Yeah.
It's a different time, it's a different era, and they got to make money. But I miss the days when the amateurs looked like pros. And it was a cool thing. It wasn't just get a pro card to put it on your Instagram. Like I don't understand it. It's more of a marketing tool than actually, benefiting the athletes.
How about
Right.
how about like the what do you think of the direction of the 212 and how it's evolved since when you started, or back when it was 210, then 202, and now 212? It's changed over time, and I think Keone is kind of ushering in a new look. What do you think about that evolution, and where do you see that going?
Well, I'll say I watched a video with Bob and Sean the other day, and they were talking about Keone. I think for the first time in my life, I agree with Sean Ray that Keone could be a top 5 at the Open Olympia, if he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be a waste of his time to stay at 202. 212 any longer than another year. Because he's still growing, he's still improving, and he's gaining his confidence. And you could argue his physique is as pretty as either Derek, Hadi. He's just not as heavy as them, but man, he's damn near it. He's going to be close when he decides to.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he's not even at the top of the 212 yet.
Right.
not even
His
close.
structure his structures, insertions, everything is just so perfect that it makes him look gigantic.
Yeah.
But I don't. I think the 212 is good. I just don't think people are competing enough. I love that Sean is doing like every show and he's making money and he's doing open shows, and that's something I said to him years ago. I'm like, do all these shows. So he came to Japan, he came to Kuwait, and he grew his following and he got better. The only way to get better is to keep competing. I don't understand all the people that aren't competing. Even if you don't win, you're going to learn something. You're going to take something away. You might end up with a check. Give it a shot. I love that Samson's competing as much as he does. And I think that's why he's gotten better so quickly in the last few years. The guys that compete the most, they hone their craft by doing it.
Yeah.
I always say, like, Tiger Woods never got better at golf by not golfing. You can't get better if you don't do it.
Right.
So I always encourage people to do it. If you're even remotely thinking about it, then do it. I love the guys that are going to do New York and then Detroit and then whatever, bang them all out. I want to see it. I want to see all these guys week after week. And I'd love to see, like Nick Walker beat, what's his name?
Martin.
and you Martin
Yeah.
beat him, and then Martin come back and beat him in Detroit. Like, I'd like to see that,
Yeah.
Right.
because that's called learning. You're learning
Hmm.
who can do it on the fly, traveling with minimal time.
Right.
That's the stuff that makes it interesting. I loved going from Vegas to Boston to Korea to Boston to Prague, and seeing
Yeah.
if I could hold my shit together. And how good can we stay while we're on the road?
Right.
Eating foreign food. And, oftentimes I couldn't bring all my food with me. So I'm kind of eating what I can on the fly. And
Yeah.
obviously you're not bringing your whole arsenal with you to see, to Korea.
Right.
Right.
So you got to see how good you can do.
Hmm.
And that's what made it fun. It made it interesting. And there were some flip-flops in those travels
Right.
where some guys beat guys that beat them a week before, and I love that shit.
It sounds like a passion for the sport too. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have that. You'd have to want to compete, and there's that risk too, because I mean, if you get beat, then it's your ego too. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
that aspect of it. So I respect that, and as a fan, my end of things, always having gone to the shows and watched them, man, I love seeing guys compete again and again. I love to see, like, you at the Arnold, where you were incredible, man. Those were some freaking awesome shows, and then to see you go somewhere else and the next and the next, I loved seeing that stuff. I feel like you get that more with some of the 212 stuff and the classic guys. I've seen some classic guys who are, but yeah, I would love to see more of the big guys like Samson, put his hat in the ring. It's a big step for him, man. I mean, I think he looked incredible at the Olympia. It was well deserved, but and he very well could win the Arnold, but you're putting it on the line there. And how does that set you up, mentally then going into the next Olympia if you were to lose?
Yeah. Well, he's putting it on the line. I love that, and he's putting it on the line with a guy that he's only beaten once.
Right.
And this guy, I have a feeling, is improving dramatically.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he came in
he's
flat. He's not going to do that again, is he? You know what I mean?
no, no. There was a lot of things going on that I think he was overdoing cardio, overdoing training. I personally don't think you should be in the gym training longer than 60 minutes, period.
Okay.
If you're in there for 3-hour marathon sessions, it's going to eat you alive. And then you got to do an hour of cardio, and then you're all stressed out, and that's how you fall apart. Now, it's just relax, train, get in, get out, eat your food, rest, recover, and grow.
Yeah.
I know he looks awesome right now. There's been pictures posted. We're talking about Derek, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
And
looks freaky, man.
yeah, some people are like, "Oh, he's way behind. He looks like shit." And I'm like, "What?" And I think the fact that he's not like as dry as he would be show day,
Yeah.
but he isn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's got a month left, and he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to look awesome. So I think this is going to be a very interesting comparison between him and Samson.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Chris is going to do with him too. He's in good hands.
Yeah. Well, Chris has an awesome way of calming people down, of like, making you feel relaxed. Where I think maybe Hani's too involved. Like, got to be involved in every pose and every workout session. I want to hammer you through this, and then got to do this, that, and where Chris is like, how you doing? You feel good? Take the day off. Go have a burger. Whatever. He's very chill and relaxed about things.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. So it was very important that I hooked up with Chris because, like, one, I could overdo shit very easily.
Yeah.
Right.
And I required a lot of cardio anyway, but he would know when to pull back, and he'd be like, listen, take the day off, skip your second cardio. And I'd be like, all right, cool. And I would be a little hesitant, but I'd always look better the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's
Scott,
just got a really laid back way of going about it.
He would always say things that would blow your mind, though, because he would say, like, you'd have a situation like that, and he's like, yeah, take the day off. Let's do a burger and fries for your meal tonight. Tomorrow, after you have that, don't train it like 100%. And then Thursday, you'll be 276.
Okay.
And you're like 280, you're 281 right now. And you're like, oh, whatever. Throws it out. You wake up Thursday when you step on the scale, you look down, it's like 276.0. And you're like, I don't even know how you did that. I used to send him pictures sometimes just laughing. Like, there's my toes in the scale just to be like, what?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really good for Derek. I can't wait to see it.
Me too.
I think a lot of these guys look really good. James Hollingshead posted a picture the other day.
Yeah.
He looks awesome. Yeah. I like his look. He's really rugged, huge legs, tight midsection, just a big old polar bear.
He's got that he's a pale British, nasty, grainy look,
Yeah.
The way it's supposed to be. So, all right. I feel like what we've done so far is talked you into coming to the Arnold, so that's good to know.
All right. Yeah.
That was part of the plan here. Let's see.
If you're looking for questions, I've got a couple here, Dusty, that I'd love to
I just threw one that I wanted to get in here.
Okay, go then. You take it.
If Flex Lewis didn't exist or compete in 212, who do you think's the top guy of that era in the class would have been?
Me.
Send me that answer.
Easy enough.
Yeah. Well, I'll expand on that. I wish the weight class never moved. If it stayed at 202, I might have 7 Olympias. Because there was no one else that could stack as much mass and condition on that height than me. It was me and David Henry, and I was bigger than David. It was. I think when they moved it to 212, it fit Flex's frame a lot better, where he couldn't hold as much size, sucking down that extra 10 pounds.
Right.
And for me, it forced me to get even bigger. And even though I got huge and did well, I think the best version of my physique was a little smaller waistline when I was, 202, or even when I won Toronto 212, I was still only like 204, 203, It was a much better, tighter look, as opposed to I was 210 on stage. I mean, when you're 5'4", there's only so many places that weight can go. So, of course I had a thicker midsection, but I could pull a vacuum. I could suck it in. But I always said I was stuffing 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. And that's what it looked like.
You know what my favorite thing is, though? Scott, I always thought this was great. So my first pro show, I wanted to do the Phoenix Pro. So I said, Jose, will you come do the Open with me?
Okay.
I was like, just come do this show with me. And so he did it. But the best part of the show for me, forget about the event itself or any of that, was the amount of people that were telling me, they're like, man, this is why Jose should do the Open. He's so much bigger when he doesn't have a weight class to do it. And I didn't have the heart to tell anyone that I watched him weighing at my house at 204. But they were just certain that he was 230.
Yeah.
But he actually, because of the way the shows lined up, he was actually lighter at that show than he was at the Olympia. The year before. I remember I watched him weigh in, and I'm like, how is that 204 pounds? And so many people were like, oh, see, he should just do the Open. He's so much bigger when he's not worried about the weight cap. And I'm like, I don't know if I should tell him.
What are you like, 225, 230 now? And I'm like, no. I'm actually 6 pounds lighter than the Olympia. Because I went from the Olympia to Korea to Prague to Phoenix. And that's over a month of traveling and nonstop, and I end up losing more weight. I love that look, though. It was a great look, and that was another one. Like, I have more second places than I can even think of, and that was one of them. That was to what was that kid's name from Prague?
I can't remember who won that show now.
He was a kid that ruffles his glutes. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
But I can remember dinner afterwards. But that's not for the show. Oh man. So Scott, what else did you have?
All right, I had a like this is a game. Basically, you just first thing that comes to mind. I'm going to say something. You tell me first thing that comes to mind. And this is for all of our old school guys out there.
All right.
First one, Kevin English.
Awesome. Kevin was a beast. I love Kevin. Kevin became a good friend of mine. He actually helped me prepare for the 2011 New York Pro where I beat Flex. And he was Kev's a good guy. You know, his physique got tired towards the end. So there wasn't he had to step aside, but
Yeah.
he had 3 years of total domination. He was very impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a great guy. He used to drive up to Boston. He stayed with me a couple times, and we guest posed together. And really good dude. After I won the New York Pro, he took me out to dinner, this crazy expensive dinner at a steakhouse in Long Island, and it was awesome. Great.
I got a couple more.
Good man.
Edwardo Correa.
Awesome.
Wait, that's the same
awesome.
word.
Yeah. He's made of steel. He's the hardest bodybuilder I've ever seen. And he's got mounds of muscle. I don't know how the hell he made weight. And he's not short. Like, he's 4 inches taller than me. And he's taller than Flex. And he was granite. At my best, I beat him. So that's why I answered if there was no Flex Lewis, it would have been me. And especially if it stayed at 202. Because Eduardo wouldn't have been able to do 202. Not very long anyway. Flex was too tall. A lot of the guys would height themselves out. And it would come down to like me and Henry every time, or me, Henry, and Clarita, me, Henry, and Charles Dixon, or the short jack guys.
Charles Dixon lives right down the street from me now.
You're kidding?
Does he really?
Yeah, he lives right here.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's hilarious. Good guy.
I got a couple more. You already mentioned him, Dave Henry.
Dave, awesome physique. He was one of the most impressive when I first started. That New York Pro I did when I was natural, I went to weigh-ins and he took his shirt off and his shoulder flopped out like a breast. It was so weird, like a woman taking her bra off and the boobs flap out. His shoulder was so round, it was wobbly. I'm like, oh my God. He was so impressive. And, that's something I think it didn't benefit him either by going up to 212. Because David at his best, he was like 193 to 197, somewhere in there. He was unbeatable at that because he was so hard, conditioned everywhere. But once he started chasing the weight, 205, 206, something like that, it wasn't a good look. He was never as hard again. And then, like me, the midsection starts protruding. So it would have benefited both of us. And that's why I said, if it stayed at 202, it would have been me and David battling most of the years. But yeah, great guy too.
I've got one more. I mean, I had a whole list here, so I'm just kind of picking through them. I was looking at your contest history, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot about Doug Dale, and I forgot about this guy and that guy. But I'll just say Hidetada.
Hide, son of a bitch. The
only one that didn't get awesome.
No, I love Hide.
That's the Arnold.
Yeah. No, listen, Hide is probably one of the nicest guys in all of bodybuilding. He's a perfect gentleman and classy dude. but I should have beat his ass in 2016. I was very upset by that. But listen, you can't win them all. And the fact that I have a shitload of second places tells me, I mean, if I won every second place one that I had, I would have had like 25 wins,
Right.
which would have been crazy, I did 47 pro shows,
Wow.
and I think I must have close to 20 second places.
Wow.
Something like that.
Wow.
Honestly.
Do you know how many
And-
shows you've done in total?
Oh, God. Close to 100, I would say.
That is wild.
Yeah, because I competed a ton as like a teenager, because there were other divisions back then, like other organizations.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was the ANBC, AAU.
Yeah.
There was NABA. I did all of those shows. There'd be small shows in like Worcester, a few towns over, and I would go. I was 19, trying to, I was still in college and competing, and just wanted to compete and get better. That's something people don't know, is that I competed so much that when it came to nationals, I never got nervous. I had people to say to me like, dude, don't you get nervous at all? And I'm like, no, why would I? I've done this 1,000 times. Like I don't, it doesn't matter. And, I also waited. I had competed for 16 years before I did a pro show. So when I was ready to do a pro show, posing wasn't an issue. I knew how to pose. I'd been posing most of my life at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
And getting in shape wasn't an issue. I knew how to get in shape. It was just slowly growing and I'd mastered all the little minutia about bodybuilding, about traveling, whether it's flying or driving a long way or sleeping the night before, getting your color ready and making sure your skin's ready. All of that was easy to me because I'd been doing it for so long. Bob Chick took him 16 years to turn pro. Same as me. People thought it happened overnight for me, but it didn't. It was, I could have turned pro like, 7 years into it, but I choose to compete another, 8 years, 16 years? It was 16 years before I turned pro and 10 years as a pro. The only year I didn't compete from 2008 to 2018 was 2008. What did I just say? From 93.
93 to
Yes.
okay.
93 to 2018. The only year I didn't compete was 2008 because I broke my leg.
Wow.
Yeah. And I always did multiple shows a year.
Yeah.
I love that. And like I said, as a fan of the sport, I love seeing that too, guys that are going to keep getting up there.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you do? You did,
you're always learning.
Each year you were doing, like when we were with iForce, we were doing 4 or 5 shows every year, right? Between the Arnold, the Olympia, Correa.
Yep. The Arnold, the Olympia, Korea. I did Korea 5 years in a row, the Arnold 5 years in a row, the Olympia 10 years in a row, New York Pro 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
I did it. Yeah. I told that story about the New York Pro when I wasn't going to do it. The 2013 New York Pro. I'd already done it 4 years in a row. And I'm like, I'm going to go up and do Toronto. So I was with MS, what's Gerard Dente's company? MHP.
Oh, MHP.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was with MHP, and they had signed me up to guest pose at some event. And Steve got wind of it, and it was a non-sanctioned event. So he just called me and was like, hey, just giving you a heads up, you're going to get a fine if you go do this event. And I'm like, call MHP, call Gerard, tell him. I'm like, I didn't sign it up. He's like, yeah, but you can come to New York. And I'm like, what the fuck? And
I see what that was.
Yeah. And this was like Thursday before the show.
Oh God.
Right.
So he says, well, are you in shape? I'm like, yeah, I'm competing next week in Toronto. He's like, well, then come down. I'm like, all right, let me talk to Chris. And then he says, He says, "Can you beat Sammy?" I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah, I can beat Sammy." He's like, "All right, come down and let's see it." And then I called Chris, and Chris was like, "Yeah, who the hell's gonna beat you there?" He's like, "Let's do it." So I didn't even have time to shave or anything.
You're
I had
kidding.
to, yeah, called the girl that made my food. I picked up my food and then drove halfway to New York, stayed at a friend's house. The morning of, I had to like clip all my fur off, and because normally I wax, but I
Oh,
didn't have time, so I just clipped and showed up, made it there for weigh-ins, drove to New York. I weighed in at 210 that day, and went backstage, and like an hour later, I didn't even have a hotel room. I just went an hour later, hung out, and they're like, "All right, we're ready to roll. Prejudging starts." And then it was awesome because nobody knew I was there.
yeah.
Right.
And when I came out, it was like the loudest response I ever got.
Oh, I bet.
And I,
Especially at the New York crowd.
yeah, it was awesome. And it came down to me and Sammy, and I beat him
Sami Al Haddad.
as I said I would. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Doug Dale was there too. It was
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
Sammy, Doug Dale. It was a good lineup. And
I
then
love
the
that
week
era of the
after, I went
sport
to
too.
Toronto. Yeah, it was a great time. There were a lot of great guys. There's good guys now too. It's just I think it's different because there was magazines back then,
Yeah.
because we all had longer amateur careers. It was more prestigious when you won your pro card, when so you'd show up, and some of those 202 shows, 212 shows were legit superstars. Like Sami Al
Yeah.
Haddad's one of the greatest amateur bodybuilders in history. Along
Right.
with Kamal El Garni, I think
Yeah.
Sammy's won the second most of world championships. He
Huh.
was like a
Right.
5-time world championship. And he waited because over there they make money.
Yeah.
The Arabs, they make money from being an amateur bodybuilder because they're representing their country. He represented Bahrain. And I remember when he won the New York Pro. No, he was second the year before in 2012. Kevin won, and he was second, and I was third. He was asking me where he could have something shipped. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, they're buying me a new motorcycle for placing second." And then he won that year in Prague. He beat Eduardo, and he won in Prague. And they bought him a house.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah, yeah. And then for placing at the Olympia, he got a G wagon,
You're from the
and
wrong
he's telling
country,
me about
Jose.
it.
You needed to be from
Huh?
Bahrain.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I think it was different back then. A lot of the names, a lot of the guys had names, even as 202 guys, 212 guys.
Hmm.
All those names I named that were at the New York Pro, those guys were all legit stars
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
bodybuilding.
You competed with John Meadows too once, didn't you?
Yeah. The Arnold that I won, he was in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was crazy looking. He was huge. He was hard. It was just it was a different look. It
Sure.
was
Yeah.
I don't know. 212 was a good weight for him. I think he
Yeah.
was his best at like 220 or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He had to really suck down for that.
Yeah, he's a great dude though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you have any more, Scott?
I had nothing else. I mean, I could keep just asking stuff, but I'll refrain.
All right, perfect. Well, Jose, thanks for jumping on and just random chatting us. There's never a
Anytime.
time we can't get enough of the stories here. And I think I like to bring it back because for me personally, like that was an era where I got to do something that I don't think most people get to do, which was be in it. Because at that point I was like Jose was saying, as a top amateur, like everyone knew who I was. I was
Yeah.
all over the place. But then because of Jose and other friendships and sponsors, I was also a fan watching at that level, which would be really cool because you're like, here you are doing your own stuff. But then if you were talking to someone else, you'd be like, where are you at right now? I'm in Jose's room. I'm taking a look at him before the show. And they're like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
And it was funny because you do lose track. And I remind people, you'll love this story, Jose. At the Arnold, I was telling one of my clients, I said, man, it's so weird because you grow up and you idolize these people. You're following them. You're hanging on to their every word. And then next thing you know, you have their cell phone number and your friends, and you kind of forget that the previous part happened.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I know exactly what you mean. I go, oh, who do you know? And he goes, you. And I'm like, my brain doesn't even connect. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I loved it.
That kind of counts, but not really.
You don't know how many years, like, after our I-Force days, people would still say to me, hey, where's Dusty? And I'm like, I don't know. Probably home. I don't live with them. They just associated us together forever.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, where's Dusty? I'm like, he's probably home. I don't know. Do you
Barney
think
and Fred are never seen alone.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, how great is that? Before I leave, pull up that YouTube of us with the suits on.
Oh God.
What is it?
The little green bag.
Oh God, yeah. One sec.
If you just look up Dusty and Jose, it'll pop up.
It'll pop, yeah.
That is so awesome. Todd did that, right?
Yeah.
We're in our suits at the Arnold, getting ready to go to dinner. It was awesome.
Oh, is this a picture I'm looking for?
No, it's a little video.
Okay.
It's a video on YouTube.
Give me
it's
just
only
a
like
second here.
5 seconds.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Hold on.
Yeah.
Give me just a second here. I got to click over to this. There we go.
Yeah. Too bad
All
you gotta
class.
mute it because the music's incredible.
I just love that he randomly put this together.
I love it. Did Todd do that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's awesome.
I did all of those.
Amazing.
Yeah, those are good times, man.
So good.
Classics.
All right, let me know when you want to do the reaction.
In about 3 minutes. We're going to hang up,
right.
Not literally. We're hanging up with them, and then we're doing it. So,
all right,
everyone,
cool.
That's another episode of It's Just Bodybuilding. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
There it is. I had to throw it on to Scott to do that. Also, remember, IamMutant.com. Make sure to check them out. Use the codes, Dusty or Big Ron. Save yourself some money. Get all your stuff. Of course, the Think Big Patreon.
Thank you, guys.
Scott homed and us on the internet. Until next time, it's just bodybuilding.